good.
All right, we're back. Yeah, I was kind of trying to keep an eye on the batteries. I should mention we're here at the plaza by Williams Lee. I guess it's the Market Street Plaza. And it's a beautiful day outside.
We're holding it down.
We're holding it down. That's right. That's right. Well, I wish the fountain was still here. When I was a kid, there was a fountain here. But so we're running off of battery power, and I was kind of trying to keep an eye on it. And I'm like, when we get a break in the conversation, I'll stop and change the batteries. But we're having such a good time talking here about the music life that I got caught unaware.
We lost track.
So, hey, when you do your fucking podcast, you can.
Yeah,
you can bring in a long extension. That's right. You can bring a long extension cable and run it from the Williams Lee building, but I'm doing it by battery, and I fucked up, and so that's all right.
That's all right. We're human.
That's right. We're human, and to be honest, the people that listen to this podcast have been so cool to me that nobody will even give me shit about it.
Yeah, right on.
Everybody's been showing me way more love than I ever expected. So
I just saw a guy with his finger halfway up his nose. It was awesome. Definitely going to find something.
This is a cool. This is a great place to just sit and people watch. And I probably haven't, other than walk through here, I haven't done it since I was a kid. So it's kind of. I was driving by yesterday actually, and I noticed these tables here, and I'm like, this is a cool.
Well, it's all revamped and stuff now.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like, Wheeling's doing this, trying to make things cooler and nicer and like this. I don't know what you would call it, like
revitalize.
Right? Yeah, and it's cool. But we were. I don't know where we left off, but we were talking about the music scene and stuff like that. And I was just saying that my bass player, that the music scene is very incestuous.
Right.
And my bass player in Brimstone Coven, Andrew DeCagna, we've been playing music together for years. I mean, he played bass in Once Again for a minute. I played guitar in a band he had called Angel Rust. We had a band called Wodarcyk together. And like, dude, that's so, you were talking about having members and being able to click with everybody and do that. And man, like, that dude is I owe that dude a lot, because he's been awesome, and he's a super cool dude, very talented, and in so many ways. He has his own studio. I mean, like, he's just an awesome dude all around.
And he gets after it on stage.
He definitely gets after it.
You guys both do. I mean, you guys were balls out from the get.
Well, you got to be, man.
Yeah. And it wasn't forced, That's the other thing. Like, you can tell when people are trying to have fake energy, or, especially new guys when they're getting started out. But, from you guys, that's the thing I noticed, that it was all coming from the heart. All three bands, I could tell that, like, man, everybody, regardless of what they do for a living, they were living for that night.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes for great musicians.
I mean, that's how we see every show.
Yeah.
I mean, we get excited about, even if it's a little rinky-dink show,
right?
Because if one or two people see that never saw you before, and you change somebody's mind about something, that's awesome, dude.
I always thought, we'd play a show, and every now and then we'd get a plunker where nobody'd show up. It'd be a Wednesday night.
Yeah. And
I just say, I'm up here, I'm playing music with my friends. We're playing songs that we wrote, so even nobody's paying attention to it. Sometimes when nobody's paying attention, we just look at each other and like, all right, we're just going to have a good time.
Yeah.
And because we're not sitting home watching TV, and we're not at work.
Yeah.
And it's a much better time being out here. Even practice, I never bothered.
Oh, no, yeah.
I love practice,
yeah.
man. Hang out. They probably still do this now, but back in the day when I was in bands, you could not have a practice unless somebody brought at least a 12-pack of beer.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, that's a must. And, maybe something to smoke.
Yeah.
But, no, and that's like I said earlier, that, one of the big things is, like, you work really hard to get signed, and then you get signed, and then you got to work even harder.
Yeah.
Well, that might be my number one, awesome knowledge, wisdom tidbit.
Yeah.
This will be my number two. It's like, I'm losing my train of thought now. What is it? Oh, shit. God damn it. I'll think of it.
Okay. People are going to have to wait.
Yeah.
But it'll be worth it.
Yeah, it's important. I know what it is. Oh, okay, I remember.
Yeah.
And this is maybe probably even more important. When you're in a band and you're playing shows and you're going around and you want more people to see you, probably more, it's important to be good.
Yeah.
It's important to get out and play your music, but even more importantly, and this doesn't just go for music, it goes for everything in life.
Yeah.
Whether you're looking for job or film or whatever, the most important thing is to get out and be social and meet people.
Yeah.
Make connections.
Yeah.
Because that's where things start to happen.
I agree.
That is the most important thing in a band, is to get out there and meet people and be cool to people.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick and think you're a rock star. Be cool to people, because you never know when you're going to meet somebody that has connections with this guy or that guy.
100%.
You know what I mean? So
I couldn't agree with you more. I know.
I've learned that, I didn't know that. I was a dumbass,
Well,
I've learned
especially
it.
when you're part of like a music scene, the only way to get new people in is you got to reach outside your usual people.
Exactly.
And be cool. Yeah. And like, I mean, for me, standing there talking to you at Center Market Fest, like, I'm like, I got to go to see the show. This dude's cool, man. He personally invited me. Little did I know that like I was with like one of the granddaddies of the whole thing. Like I was the guest of one of the true players of the whole thing. Like everybody knows Corey. And
That could be good and bad.
well, it was for me. It was awesome because I'd never been to one of those shows, and I didn't really know anybody. I think I ran into a couple people. I ran into Greg Fernstock and
Greg's an awesome drummer. He plays drums for Alpha Gray.
Yeah,
he's a killer drummer. Yeah,
he's incredible, man. But other than that, so walking in and like you introduced me to all your bros, and I felt right at home, and everybody was super cool. Everybody that I met was like really awesome and
that's another thing, is like
friendly
people,
and welcoming.
I think people have like this preconceived notion that like the people at the rock shows and the metal shows are like all it's like,
Not
and
the
it's
Hell's
totally
Angels.
the opposite. Like tattooed, pierced rockers are like the coolest people.
Yeah,
like they're totally not judgmental. Like you got to worry more about the like gung ho Christians than you have to worry about us. You know what I mean? Like we're the cool people. Like
they're all there. I mean, everybody's happy to see the bands and have a couple beers and hang out, and it was not just the bands were cool about the night, but I thought that the whole scene was just really cool people that enjoy music and enjoy each other's company, and
absolutely
there's a real good sense of community there.
Yes,
which I love. I'm big about any kind of community, and that's why I love to get the metal people and the hip hop people and the alternative people all together, because the way I see that, everybody that I've met in all these different scenes are cool. I think they'd all get along. Yeah. And they'd all dig on what each other are doing.
Absolutely.
To go back what you're saying about getting out there and being social, I know that when it's funny, when I said that, I used to say that I think I might like to try to make a movie. And nobody really took me seriously. And I'm like, I think it might be kind of fun to maybe make a movie. And when I quit saying that and I said, I'm going to make a movie.
Right.
I don't know how I'm going to do it. I didn't have any equipment. I didn't have any scripts. I didn't have any experience. I'm going to maybe make a crappy movie, but I'm going to make a movie.
Yeah.
And once I did that, then people kind of believed in what I was doing, because I believed in myself. But then the other thing was just everybody I ran into for probably 2 years, I talked about making a movie, and that's how I got my cinematographer and Desi and Jeff, who's just my cohort and everything, that edits and everything, from us talking about it. And one thing we always stress: people come to the premieres and they come up and say hi afterwards, and we shake everybody's hand, and we're literally truly grateful when people come out.
Yeah, man.
And someone hands you a business card, you take it.
Absolutely.
And we had a chance to do show of hands, and afterwards, different people came up, and we got so many opportunities. We didn't win the night, which is okay, because we got something even more, just connections. The guy from the science store came up and said he loved what we were doing, and anytime we wanted to use the science store, anytime he wanted somebody to fact check the science in one of our scripts. And
nice.
So yeah, you got to be open, you got to be social, you got to let people know that you exist.
Yeah. And what better way than with music and film?
Yeah.
Because I've always said, once you record that song and put it out, it will live forever as long as somebody's,
right.
The changing hands. Same thing with a movie. Once you make that, it lives forever.
Yeah.
It will live forever. As long as there's somebody that cares about it, it will live forever.
And it's a documentation of what you've done. And the nice thing about music and film is they're two of the most relatable art forms. They're almost so common that people don't necessarily always think of them as art. I think when you say art, first thing they think of is Van Gogh and a painting or something like that. But they really are an art form, and they're very relatable. And the nice thing about music is you can buy a CD or have a certain piece of music and listen to it 1,000 times. Yep. And the depressing thing about films is even that, like, some of my favorite movies, I maybe have watched them 10 times. Like Fight Club's one of my all-time favorite movies. I probably watched that 20 times.
Yeah.
Reservoir Dogs I probably watched 50 times because we used to just have it on in the house on a loop.
Yeah.
And just quote lines while we're cooking dinner. But
that's me. I'm the movie. Everybody gives me shit for quoting movies constantly because I just watch movies. I absorb shit anyway. But
yeah.
I watch them over, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I can front to back. I can do that script. Like the original Texas Chainsaw. I can all the way. Like The Road Warrior, Mad Max, those movies, all the way. I know all the everything, So I'm a quoter, Tommy Boy, Billy Madison, all them. I'm constantly doing that, dude.
I love a good movie quote. And me and my brother, we used to throw around the Reservoir Dogs quotes all the time.
Yeah.
I used to spend more time up at this house back in the day, and we put on Reservoir Dogs. We ate dinner every night, and wherever we got to, we just pause it, and then the next day we'd watch it, and then we'd just start over. We did that for like a whole summer.
Well, it's always awesome too, because you'll say a quote or something like that, and somebody's like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
You're like, "Oh, it's from a movie." But like every now and again, you'll say it, and somebody will chime in with you, and you're like, "Yes."
It is like a really cool point of connection with someone,
absolutely,
especially if it's an obscure quote, and most people don't get it, and somebody hears you, especially like someone you don't know. It's like they know, and they know it so well, and it strikes them so hard that they have to come over and say, "Dude,
yeah,
I know what you're talking about."
we made a friend really hardcore. We played in Charleston, West Virginia, not too long ago, and I'm always quoting the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I don't even know what I said. I don't know if I said. I think it might have been from the second one. I said, "Lick my plate, you dog dick." And this dude, he knew what I was talking, and he started chiming back with other stuff, and then we were just back and forth the whole night, like during our set, And then he loved us. It was like a lifetime fan from the rest, from right there.
It's the point of connection, right?
Yeah,
that's awesome. It is interesting that the way that people can come together over something that small.
Exactly.
And I think more and more those things are important because people are looking for ways to come together.
Yeah. It's important for people to come together.
It is. It really is. And I think
there's too much separation.
There is. And
everywhere for every reason.
I agree.
So.
I'm really excited about what's going on now around here. The good thing is because the music's so good, that makes it easier because kind of one of my goals is to bring everybody together, and so the fact that all the bands are really good in the hip hop, the alternative, and the metal scene, getting everybody together is a lot easier. And the fact that the time is right. Plus everybody's really cool.
Yes.
And so
that's it. Like people, you'll go places. We kind of have this perception, like when Brimstone, like when we go to different places, like we just went to we were just in Maryland over the weekend, and it was weird, man, because like people would like hold doors for you, and they were like really like overly nice, and they like wave at you and stuff like that.
Wow.
And it's like it's kind of like that here, but we're kind of like I see. I call Wheeling Little New York because like we're just like kind of like but people are nice here though. Like once you kind of like. People here kind of need to have their barrier broken down a little bit, and then they're like, oh, they're cool. You just seem like they kind of got like this wall a little bit, you know what I mean? Not everybody, but
it's well, the one thing about the High Valley is we have such a mix because Wheeling is a very huge city, so the people that live in Wheeling, more city folk, but then in 3 minutes you're out in the country.
Yes.
So
they're from all around.
Yeah,
it's like consolidated. Wheeling's consolidated.
It very much so, and so it's a unique situation where you have much different classes of people that end up mixing that may not, in a big city, people from the country don't necessarily come downtown very often for things, whereas I see a lot of people that'll come down to shows down at River City or come down here for dinner that live in the country like myself. So it's good in the way that you have that blending where you have, they're not totally country people, they kind of go between both worlds. But it's a unique mix, and I think more and more people are coming to Wheeling for things.
And that's like Center Market doing those the first Fridays and stuff like that. That brings a lot of people down. And it's cool because it's outside and people can they can drink in the street because the street's shut down, and they live music and
it's a fun time, man.
Food and all kinds of different brews and stuff like that. And that's really cool, man. I mean, I didn't pay much attention to that. For some reason, I was just like, I was married and I was a homebody, and I mean, I got out and played shows and stuff like that, but like a lot of times I didn't, go out and look for extra stuff to do. And then when I got divorced, I was like, well, I need to go do some stuff.
You gotta get out there.
And I went down there and I was like, man, this is awesome. And I go there all the time now. Like
I always joke around. I'm like, when you're single, you got to go out because it's not like women are coming and knocking on my front door wanting to date me. So, but it was funny. I was hanging out with Eddie, my friends Eddie and Matt down there, and we were just looking around all the different people. We're like, where are all these people coming from? There was hundreds and hundreds of people, none of which I'd ever seen before.
Me too. That's the same with me.
I didn't realize that there were that many people living in the High Valley that are down in Center Market for this. So if there's a way to harness those people to get them to come down for shows and all the other things that are going on. Howard Monroe, the radio guy, he was talking about, people say that there's nothing to do in the High Valley, and then he just ripped through 20 things that are going on.
Well, the people that say that are the people that get bored. The people that are like, oh, there's nothing to do. It's like, well, you're not trying to do anything.
Right. I guess that they probably wouldn't be doing anything if they lived in a big city where there was a million things to do, because nothing, you can go to live theater and it's good. You can go see bands, they're good. There's like really great, interesting restaurants right here in downtown that you can get amazing food that you really can't get in any kind of a chain restaurant. And all kinds of different festivals. When the church does the Greek festival down here, that's coming up. That's ridiculous, man. That food is so good. There's always stuff down at the waterfront. They have movies on Wednesday, the Friday night movies, I think, down there.
And then Wednesdays they have live music.
There's
tons of stuff to do, man. There's really tons of stuff to do.
It might not be catered to exactly what you want to do, and it requires a little bit more effort than sitting on the couch and watching Netflix. But come on, people, get off your asses.
Well, exactly. And that's another thing, people are like, oh, I want to move to California, so there's stuff to do. And it's like, well, you know what? You're going to go to California, and you're going to do stuff, and it's going to be awesome for a while, and then it's going to be the same old thing just like anything else. You know what I mean? I get that there's lots of stuff to do, and there's all kinds of different, but, like, people, you just got to stay excited about stuff. You know what I mean? You can't just write things off because,
Well, and I think that, whether it's Los Angeles or Seattle or Portland or Chicago, none of them are like the magic bullet.
No.
You still got to go out there and put yourself out there. And I know some people that live in bigger cities that it's harder to meet people because, let's face it, people have thousands of people to choose from to be friends with, and they kind of stick to their own group. And I think people are a little bit more guarded in a bigger city, whereas around here, there's always room in my life to meet more cool people. I'm always looking to meet more cool people. And lately I've actually met a lot of really cool people, but I'm open to it, and I think they are as well. We don't take it for granted. When you come across someone that, like me and you, we really connect, and we're like, we got to stay in touch.
Yes.
If we were in a bigger city, we might have been like, yeah, man, that's cool, and then never, not because we weren't cool with each other, but just never have take the time to hang out. But I'm like, nah, I gotta stay in touch with this guy.
Yeah, dude.
You don't meet people that it's not an overabundance, so you take it a little bit more seriously. Plus, there's also just the fact that there's not 15 different shows going on every night, so
right.
You have the chance of running into people more often.
Exactly.
So I always try to look at the bright side of things, and like you said, if they're inclined to stay at home and watch Netflix when they're living around here or play video games on a Friday night, probably wherever they move, that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Or they'll find that local bar.
Yes.
They'll go to the same bar and miss out on all the great things. Either you're a person that gets out there and finds these things and is a seeker, or you're not.
Yeah, and I'm a creature of habit. I'll go
Sure.
I'll go to the same restaurants and get the same
Right.
thing every time. But like, you do have to branch out, and then, like, sometimes maybe you might not think that if you go down to Center Market and watch some acoustic band play that you might not like it, but
Yeah.
you don't know until you try.
Right. And you might not like it, but you might.
But you also might go down there and meet the woman of your dreams.
Right.
I mean, there's just opportunities are there.
Yeah.
If you can't just write things off and shut yourself down. So
I definitely think if you're open to new experiences, man, any any given Sunday term, any day of the week,
right.
Then you walk out your door, you never know what kind of cool stuff. I mean, bad shit can happen too, but
yeah, that's life.
Yeah, I mean, like I when I went down to Center Market Fest, I didn't think I'd be meeting some bro that I'd totally be cool with, and I was like, man, I'm so glad I came out tonight, and then just I'm like, I'm so glad that I went to the show too. That was one of those things that took effort, because it would have been easy for me to go to one of my usual hangouts,
right,
and hang out with the same people, and I love all those people, but like, nah, I need this in my life. I need to get out there and expand my horizons, and wow, it was really great that I wasn't disappointed by any part of it.
Hell yeah.
And so I hope that people be encouraged to do the same thing. And
yeah, man.
And
there's a big world out there, man. If you just lay on your couch and watch TV every night, you're not going to you're not going to experience any of it. Well, there's nothing to do. Well, there's nothing to do when you're sitting on your fucking couch.
Yeah, that's right.
Obviously.
And if you have your group of people and your things that you like to do, but every now and then, make a point to go out and check out something different, and just see what else has gone out there. So any of Corey's people that are listening to this podcast, third Fridays, come down to Center Market.
Yeah.
Artworks around town. They always have live music down there. It's free. It's BYOB.
I try to get them kids down there sometimes, and they're like, "Oh yeah, come down." You know how that goes.
Well, maybe the way to get them to come down to bridge the gap is to have a show where it's. I really want to see this happen. I've been talking to Ron Scott about it. Hip hop, metal, and like Mr. Fancy Pants or one of the Concrete.
And that's
TP.
that's another thing. We've played all kinds of shit. I've played. We've had hip hop shows. When we were doing the hip hop stuff, we'd have a metal band and a hip hop group. And we mixed it all up, because I like that. I personally like to see different things going on.
Not only do you like hip hop, but you I was impressed, man. You're spitting some right.
Oh, dude, I'm known to get crazy every now and again.
I was like, wow, man. I thought this was a metal guy, but which you are. But man, you're flowing good.
I do it all, man. I pretty much, except for country. I can't go there.
Yeah,
maybe some old country. But.
Yeah, I can go into the old country, and as I get older, I'm trying not to hate on any kind of music. I usually tell myself, well, maybe it's just not made for you.
Yeah, right.
So I try not to label it as good or bad, but yeah, some of the stuff that, and unfortunately, like you need to bring something to listen to in the car, because there's a lot of country stations around here, and
there are.
God bless you if that's what you're into, man. It's not for me. I haven't been able to get into it. Now, some old country, Conway Twitty and all that stuff, Johnny Cash.
Oh yeah.
The classics.
Yes.
It's kind of funny that when you talk about country music, my theory on country music is that when Nirvana came along and opened up the world to alternative music and all these crazy sounding bands, and the sound of music, they kind of replaced traditional hard rock, which was kind of the classic rock that was the music for the masses.
Right.
That was the relatable music, and now you have all these bands that all have kind of a unique sound. A little bit harder for people to just immediately get if they're not a passionate fan for that genre of music. So country music kind of swept into that vacuum where it's listenable, and it's almost like candy. It's very, very easy to swallow. And for some people, if they're not passionate about music, or even if they are, that's what they're looking for. That thing that's kind of, I don't want to say bubblegum because it's kind of an insulting thing, but it's a little bit, it is
accessible.
Kind of, yeah, it's the new mainstream
right.
form of music, and that's why all the radio stations have converted over the country. But music's tough. There's so much going on. The good thing is you can have a laptop in your bedroom and record an album. The bad thing is, like, a lot of people are doing that.
Right.
And some of them it's not that good yet.
Right.
Or there's just so much of it. There's a lot of it's really good, but man, who has time to sit there and listen to? I know some people that they'll scour Bandcamp to look for new things.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a hard time finding new music just because there's so much to choose from. I don't know where to start. But what I was actually riding a bike a couple months ago, and I had this thought that since it's so hard to find new music, why not like get into the bands that are right here in the High Valley?
Yeah.
Because then your favorite album that you're listening to is also like the guy that lives down the street that you can go to see for $5 at Goodfellas or in River City, and so be a fan of like the people that are right here, because they're making as good a music as people from Indianapolis and Michigan and Salt Lake City or wherever. Josh Taylor, man, I've been loving his new record, and we were doing the podcast down at Arts Fest a couple weekends ago, and he was playing, and you could hear him in the background, and you could hear me on the podcast. I'd hear a song like, fuck, I love this song. I'm like, I really love this song, and like, I'm a huge fanboy of a dude that I see all the time that record the record like a couple miles away from my house.
Hell yeah, dude.
And I get to go see him play, and I know all the dudes in the band, and I mean, that's really cool. And I got to get some of your shit.
Yes.
I need to totally get the collection of all. I know that a lot of the bands have records out and have stuff recorded in it. So we'll have to get me hooked.
Yeah, keep chalking them up.
Yeah, I'll have to bring the external hard drive down to your house and.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, and I mean that's another thing. It's like, everybody that's in the bands and stuff, but like, I did some solo stuff, and Andrew, DeCagna, he just put out an album, this project called Iron Flame. It's like traditional metal.
Nice.
And it's amazing, man. And it's just like, you just, when you're a musician, sometimes the stuff that you're coming up with doesn't necessarily fit in the groove in the band that you're in. Right, so you're like, you kind of step aside and do a side project of that, and just to get it out, because I think it's very important to get it out, because if you just like kind of suppress that, then that's something that could have been awesome that people would have loved,
right?
And you just kind of let it go, and that's a no-no. I think you got to let that stuff out.
I think to express the different sides of yourself, because like you said, you're interested in all different types of music, so it would only be natural that you would want to play in a bunch of different kind of bands to express the different sides of who you are as a musician. And I love that when someone steps out and they do a little solo project. They get these songs that have been eating away at them.
Yes, and that's exactly what it eats away at you.
And the cool thing about that is it preserves your band too, because instead of trying to put a square peg in a round hole and talk your bandmates in, they're like, "Hey man, record my ballad," and they're like, "Fuck, I don't want to do that. I ain't playing that." And then they won't play my song. No, that's all right. We don't have to do every song.
Well, that's another beautiful thing about Andrew having his own studio is like, with Brimstone, we haven't paid dime one for recording.
That's awesome.
And even with Metal Blade, they loved what they heard. So they we had 2 albums out before we even got signed by them, and they decided to take those 2 albums and make them one and put that out just as is. So that's I think the only thing that we had to remaster was for the vinyl.
That's awesome.
Just because it's a different process.
Yeah.
But man. And so that him having that studio, and I've been recording for a long time too. So I have my own studio in our rehearsal space and stuff. I do all the demos and stuff like that. So I'm constantly recording like everything, hip hop, metal, doom metal, rock and roll. It's everything.
Yeah, you get out of your system. You can get it recorded, and it's like, I know I always like to record practices, and usually with a boombox back in the day.
Yeah,
But that's how when you break into a little jam at the end of practice, and that's where you find them nuggets. And I was the guy that always I want the tape, and I put it in my truck and listen to it
Exactly.
between practices, and then I try to remember where it was on, and so I get together with the guys and I'd put this cassette in,
Yes.
and I'd be play, hey, right here where you did that's yeah, do more of that stuff.
Yeah.
And
not only that, but to like mark your progress and listen to it and think, oh that would be cool there,
Yeah.
or add stuff to
Yeah.
it, and that's always that's what when I do the demos, sometimes I'll even record songs 2 and 3 times, because a lot of times I'll go in kind of totally unstructured, just
Yeah.
like I'll have a riff in my head and I'll just throw some drums down real quick just so I have something to put everything together to listen to.
Right.
And then I'll get these ideas, more stuff, and then I'll add on to it, and then sometimes 2 or 3 times, and then by the 3rd time it's like, okay, this is the song.
Yeah, sometimes you have to do it.
You do. Yeah.
The Oasis, their first album, they had it recorded, it's completely done, and they thought it was okay, and their manager was like, that's not you guys, and nothing like what you guys sound like live. They trashed the whole thing.
Yeah.
And went back into a completely different studio, new engineer, new producer, and totally redid the album, and that's a ballsy move.
Well, and that's
It ended up with a great album too.
a perfect example of that would be Jimi Hendrix. You listen to his studio stuff, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
But then you listen to him play that shit live.
Yeah.
and, oh my God, it's completely different. It's just the mojo is ridiculous.
Yeah, the energy.
So,
yeah.
That's some people can capture it in the studio, and like I said, it's his studio stuff is awesome. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, it's awesome. But when his solos are awesome and all that stuff, but when he rips into a solo or a lead like in one of those live songs, man, and it's just. Dude, he's just going, man.
There's so much passion and energy.
Yeah, exactly. There you go,
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah,
passion and energy.
Yeah, well, we were talking about Kiss earlier before we came up here, and Kiss Alive was such a great record.
Yeah.
Because those songs just translated so much better live.
Absolutely.
I mean, the studio records are good, but the version that I have in my head when I think of like Strutter and Cold Gin, and it's from Kiss Alive.
Yeah.
That to me is the epitome of those songs. And when I hear the actual record version, it sounds a little off because I'm just so used to listening to the live version of it. And the other thing I always thought was interesting and somewhat depressing when I'd record a practice is you'd think that something sounded really good when you were playing it, and then you go back and listen and go, that's not as good as I thought it was. But it's important to have that perspective, to hear it when you just sit back and listen to what you did and analyze it and figure out where and a lot of times it wasn't that it was terrible, it just needed to be tweaked.
Exactly.
I know as a drummer I'd always realized that I overplayed, that I needed to chill out and play about half of what I was doing.
And that's maturing. That's just maturing as a musician. Yeah, definitely. Less is more,
especially I think for a drummer. You kind of have to get in where you fit in. And I realized that the drummers that I really liked and that I appreciated were the ones that they do something a little special every now and then.
Right.
And it really stood out. And if it was in the right place of the song, you didn't have to prove every measure of the song that you're a great drummer.
Because somebody would be listening to it and be like, dude, that part's coming up.
Yeah.
That part's coming up.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And really, as a drummer, I also had to remind myself that as much as you may not like it all the time, you're a backup musician. Not that that's a bad thing, but you're the backbeat of the band. And when I think of Back in Black by AC/DC, that basic straight drum beat that's been used on a lot of rap songs, and that as good a guitar riff as that is, that drum beat, that simple, straightforward drum beat, enhances the
absolutely
the riff. And that's one of the things I love about being a drummer is I realized that even though we are kind of a backup instrument, I can totally change the feel of what everybody else is playing. If I go from, they can play the same riff, I can go from a half time to regular time to double time, and it frames it in a completely different way, and completely change the song without them ever having to change. And so I do like the saying that to have a good band, you have to have a good drummer, or a band is as good as the drummer.
Yes, absolutely.
As a drummer, and
even though the drummer is the backbeat of the band, it's like probably the most important thing, because it controls the pace and everything, and a bad drummer can kill a band.
Yeah, it can. It can. I play with sloppy guitar players that can hide behind the distortion.
Right.
And actually that adds to their energy and stuff. But as a drummer, you kind of have to be solid. If your time's off, it's kind of like audio in a movie.
Yeah. Exactly.
I've watched old black and white movies where the picture quality wasn't that good. And you can buy into the whole vibe of it. Old Popeye cartoons. But if the sound is bad,
I love that shit.
Yeah, but if the sound is bad, I don't care how good the picture is. If you're watching a beautifully filmed movie and you hear wind noise, it's a shitty movie.
Right.
Then you can't. And so the kind of the same as with drummers. If your timing's off, you're going to ruin it. I don't care how good everybody else is.
I mean, sound really is the atmosphere.
It is.
Like movies like say David Lynch's Eraserhead.
Yeah.
Like there's no music in that movie, but it creates like all these, the machinery and the sounds, the weird sounds and stuff. It just creates this creepy, weird atmosphere that's just perfect for what's going on in that movie. Like, so I mean. Yeah.
We just saw Guardians of the Galaxy, and both of those movies, they got those oldies soundtracks, that just these great classic songs that really just took the movie to the next level for me. Of course, Tarantino he picks the music before he even sometimes writes the script.
Yeah.
It helps. It informs him as to the vibe of the different scenes. And sometimes the absence of even music makes a difference. I'm working on a film now called I'd Kill for a Smoke, and there's no dialogue, and so it's all music and sound effects, and I haven't touched it in a while because I realized that it was easier to film because we didn't have to worry about recording audio, but coming in after the fact, the music for every scene's got to be perfect. As the mood of the thing changes, and the sound effects. We got a guy running, so you got footsteps and breathing, and but if I do it right, it'll be good. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to hit you up for some music.
Man.
Because I think probably what you guys are doing would fit the vibe of the movie, because the guy's being chased by a truck through Martin's Ferry.
Nice.
And, so you want something heavy and dark. And
well, that's another example of the music fitting the Rob Zombie's Devil's Rejects.
Yeah.
I listened to Freebird a million times, and then it became that Freebird is a cliche. Hey, play Freebird, play some Skinner, But man, when they're in that shootout and they're in the back of that convertible caddy, and blood's flying everywhere in slow motion, people getting shot and stuff. It just like gave a whole new feel to that song, and that song gave a whole new the perfect feel to that scene.
They both enhance each other for sure.
Yeah, man, and he had a lot of really good. That Terry Reid, I think is his name. I forget the name of the song, but just perfect for those scenes, man. And he has a good eye for that kind of eye and ear for that kind of stuff.
He does. Yeah, I think being a musician and a fan of that genre makes him the great filmmaker.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Freebird doesn't get enough.
So.
Yeah, he has.
He's had some duds.
He has.
I don't know what he was doing, Lords of Salem. No offense, Rob Zombie.
Hey, every now and then you hit a plunker, right?
You can't win them all.
That's right. I think Freebird doesn't get enough credit, man. I love Leonard Skinner.
I do too. It's a good song.
It's such a sad song, and it's summertime picnics. Just hanging out outside. It's nice. In fact, in the garage, I've got a Leonard Skinner CD in there that when I'm working on bikes or something, I like to. It's good outdoor music, and it's a sad ass song.
Well,
man.
I'm a '70s, late '60s, early '70s rock and roll dude. That's where I'm at. That's probably where I will always be. But that kind of stuff, listen to that kind of stuff when you're tinkering on a bike or working on a muscle car or something like that. That's almost a movie in itself, It's like, so that's cool, man.
I don't listen to classic rock that often, but man, when I do, I remember. Oh my God!
Well, see, the classic rock that I listen to is classic rock that nobody ever heard before, because it was like, just bands that never got.
Yeah.
They were probably big regionally, but like as far as like obviously Zeppelin and Sabbath and stuff like that, those bands got huge, but there's so many other bands from the 70s, amazing bands. UFO. I mean,
Triumph.
I can go off, but like Truth and Janie,
okay.
Sir Lord Baltimore, Captain Beyond. We just got to play with Captain Beyond in Maryland, and a band called Bang. There's so many. I mean, the list is like, all you got to do is type in one of those bands on YouTube, and then go down the wormhole, man, and you'll find so much stuff that you never even knew that existed.
You have to send me a link, man, and give me on the right path there.
I have so many bands.
I'd love to check some of that stuff out.
And really, really, really cool stuff, man. That's just like as good, if not better, sometimes than Zeppelin and
the hidden gems,
Sabbath.
right? Yeah.
Like Sir Lord Baltimore, their first album is like, I don't think Zeppelin wrote an album that touches that.
Really?
I'm serious.
I can't. I mean,
it's brutal. It's like,
no disrespect to Led Zeppelin, but I can't listen to him anymore. I mean, just too many times.
Well,
maybe now, since I haven't listened to him in a while.
The beautiful thing about the radio stations around here, they just play the shit out of the same stuff, and you get sick and tired of it, dude. And even with the albums that those songs come off of, there are other awesome songs on those albums. They just play them.
Yeah.
Probably, I don't understand that. I don't understand the politics in radio. I don't.
If it was something besides Stairway to Heaven, Fool in the Rain, Kashmir, I could probably listen to Black Dog right now and totally be into it, because I haven't heard that in a minute. But
one of my favorite songs, well, it's probably my favorite song. I call it the soundtrack to my life. There's Danny P right there. He didn't see it, but.
He's cruising in the RX.
Yeah, it's a 10-minute long song, but it's called Achilles' Last Stand, and it's on Presence. I think it's I don't know where it's at on the album, but man, that song is just amazing. It's like a journey. It's literally like when I hear that song, it's like you're on the back of a horse rolling through, I mean, just like going through eras, man. Yeah. It's just so cool. It's such a cool song, man. If you haven't heard it, you should check it out. Achilles' Last Stand.
I probably heard it back in the day, but haven't.
Like I said, it's 10 minutes long, but it's totally awesome the whole time. It never gets boring.
I like those big epic songs. I still can put on 3 Days by Jane's Addiction.
Yeah.
And I love that song. That's another one starts off so calm and it gets crazy by the end, and it almost feels like a workout where you're just like exhausted. You just want to lay on the floor and catch your breath at the end of that. I was going to mention that when I saw you guys, was it you guys or was it one of the other bands that did the Soundgarden song?
That was Stone Wicked Souls.
Yeah,
that was right after Chris Cornell passed. That was kind of like their.
I want to give a shout out to that because that was a really cool moment. Everybody was feeling Chris
People
Cornell.
People were stoked on that.
Yeah, that was a really cool thing that they did for everybody to kind of help everybody connect a little bit on Chris Cornell, because that was really sad. That dude he meant a lot to everybody. And for me, one of the things that was cool is I realized, this is probably when I think of at least the music that I heard that night. If you can dig Soundgarden, you would dig what's going on here in the Valley.
Oh yeah,
it was that song very naturally fit into their set.
Absolutely.
In fact, I think I was in the bathroom, so when I walked out, it took me a minute to realize that they're playing a Soundgarden song, because it sounded like something that they would have written. They definitely have that.
And
really
that's the
groovy,
thing, people they hear the term heavy metal or whatever, and they think, and it's not. I mean, like. There's bluesy, soulful stuff going on, like Defy the Tide.
Groove,
Carly is a classically trained vocalist. I mean, she is awesome vocalist, and she might throw a couple screams in here and there, but that girl has got a set of pipes, man. Every time I watch them play, man, like I can't watch Carly for too long, because she brings tears to my eyes. She's so passionate and emotional. She brings her emotions right out in her lyrics. I mean, she owns it like the whole time. So like I and there's so much different stuff going on even in the metal genre. You know what I mean, around here even. And it's awesome, man.
Well, and I'll tell you, the 3 bands that I saw, including you guys, every band was different.
Yes.
And good, and real, like not so far off that I don't think anybody could have walked into that show. If you like music, you would have liked all three bands.
Yeah, I think so.
It was different enough to be cool, but also relatable, and like the way we talk about country music. And I kind of had let me think if I can figure out how to word this, but whatever image like we might think of country music, maybe we don't listen to it because we think that it's not for us, and
right.
But maybe we're missing something there, and so maybe when people hear metal or local metal, they're kind of thinking that that's not for them.
The same thing, yep, right.
It's not the same thing. We know what we're talking about, people.
Right, exactly.
When we tell you that you will enjoy this music, you can trust it, because it is just.
And again,
good
everybody's
music.
really cool, man. Like everybody's like laid back. It's not a crazy mosh pit, you know.
Yeah. You don't have to have on combat boots and wear a black T-shirt and have a bunch of tattoos.
You can.
You can, and it's cool if you do.
And you don't have to dress any certain way or anything. I mean, everybody is welcome, and it's totally cool, man. It's a cool vibe.
Yeah. So if you have any preconceptions about it, forget about it. Come and see it for yourself. And
that's the only way to experience anything.
Yeah, exactly. And I would be remiss because I definitely wanted to mention it on this podcast. Give a shout out to Screamer, because back in the day, man, that was the first really good local band that I ever saw that was playing original music, and that was the first time.
Screamer and Brick Mistress.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Dofka plays in Iron Flame.
That's what I forget what happened that night. Oh, I think there's just a bunch of other shows going on. That was the night of Michael and Josh's release party.
Yeah. I mean, if you know anything about the music scene around here, then if you haven't heard Jimmy Dofka's name, then you've been under a rock or something. I mean, that dude's
he's legendary.
He's a legend around here for sure.
So for those of you who don't know, I think Jimmy was he's definitely underage. I think he was maybe 17 at the time, and Screamer was playing around, and we were hearing about this kid that was this phenom on the guitar. Yeah. You have to go see him.
And he still is.
He still is.
It's crazy.
At 17, he was better than anybody I'd ever seen.
Well, Jimmy's one of those guitar players that when you watch him play, like, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody, but for myself, when I watch a guitar player like Jimmy Dofka play, it doesn't inspire me. It just makes me want to put my guitar down because he's so fucking good.
Yeah. And he's always been so good. I remember he was on Chet, he was the lead singer of Screamer. He was up on his shoulders. Uh-oh, shit's gone down.
Uh-oh.
The city's on fire.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean it.
Uh-oh, we're in trouble. We're just going to let these people go about their business before we...
Damn, they're coming from all angles.
Damn.
Coming right there. Wow. Armageddon, people.
Yeah, something big's going on. This podcast is on fire. That's all I can say.
That's right. Wow. Don't get close. This podcast is on fire.
That's right. So Jimmy was... Because they would do covers and originals, and I think he was playing the solo to Crazy Train, and he was up on Chet's shoulders, and the Swing Club, and which is generations for those of you who don't know, it used to be called the Swing Club, and the bar used to be upstairs, not downstairs, and the ceiling of the stage was low, and I think he bumped his head or something, and he fell off of Chet's shoulders, and he never missed a note. Playing
awesome.
Solo to Crazy Train. He was so ridiculously good. We follow those guys to Youngstown and all over the place, and for us, we were inspired that these guys that we knew that lived around here were making ridiculously good local music.
Yeah, man.
But it was depressing that the kid was like 17 years old at the time and so good that you're like, we'll never catch up to him.
Yeah, right.
It took me probably 4 or 5 years before I went from just like playing with guys in my basement and jamming around to actually wanting to be in a band, because I took that long for me to realize, you don't have to be as good as Jimmy, and your band doesn't have to be as good as Screamer to get out and play.
Exactly.
And
there's always, it's like, just like a fighter, you could be the baddest dude, but there's always going to be somebody that's tougher somewhere.
Yeah.
You're always going to lose at some point.
And it's art. It's not a competition.
Nah.
That's what I think. People that play music because they love it, and
there's so many brands, blends.
Yeah.
It's, you can't say, that's like you said earlier, say that band sucks. Well, to somebody else it doesn't.
Yeah.
To somebody it could be the most special thing they've ever seen. So.
Yeah. I guarantee you there's a lot of people, if I played Fugazi for them, they would say, what the hell is this?
Yeah, right.
But to me, that's one of my all-time favorite bands. But it's definitely, you have to develop an ear for it, because it's certainly not.
It's different.
It's not a cup of tea. It's a little hard to swallow.
I know you heard Minor Threat. Did you ever hear Embrace? His Ian MacKay's other band.
Yes.
Yeah, I always like that stuff.
Yeah. They do some cool stuff there. It's that kind of goes back to doing something different. He had some.
Well, that was kind of like, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Embrace was in between Minor Threat and Fugazi, kind of like Sam Hain was between Misfits and Danzig.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they kind of like morphed.
Bridge that gap. Yeah,
exactly.
The beginning of an idea.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, because especially, what Fugazi did was so different from what any punk band was doing. Oddly intellectual and disjointed and crazy, and people that know Fugazi, I think they love them, but I still say that they're one of the most underrated bands of all time, just because they're a punk band, and it's gritty and it's dirty. But Michael Weifried, he's a big Fugazi fan, and he pointed out something. He goes, "You'll never see a band cover a Fugazi song well, because they're so unique.
So strange.
Yeah. They're only 4 guys that can play those songs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's a pretty good credit to them. Well, brother, we've been killing it, man. We've like about an hour and a half in, and I appreciate the hell out of you coming here and doing this.
I appreciate you having me.
It was a great conversation, and
couldn't have asked for a better day to do this either.
Yeah,
it's nice out here.
What more could we ask for? A couple bros hanging out, doing the podcast out at the plaza, and a nice day. It's not too hot. It's not too. It is. It's like the absolute perfect weather for just hanging out, and great having an interesting conversation with someone who's like good guy and is passionate about what they do, and so I hope everybody that's listening to this will take the time to go see a good show and check the page. I'll be posting when the shows are coming up. I'm going to try to make the Nicolazak show that's coming up, I think, this Friday.
It's Appalachia Underground.
Yeah, down in Nicolazak's.
Yeah, I play with Appalachia Underground on Friday, and then Saturday Brimstone goes to Columbus.
Oh, nice.
And we play at Space Bar.
Nice.
So yeah.
If you're in the Columbus area, this probably won't be out by then, but just go on Facebook. Like the Brimstone Coven page, like the Appalachian Underground page.
Yeah.
I'm gonna probably put a list of all the bands at some point on there, and just the links to the different pages.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff going on for sure.
Yeah. So get involved and get down to it.
Hell yeah.
All right, man. Hey, thanks a lot.
Thank you, man.
Till the next time.
Absolutely.
Everybody, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see ya.
Cheers.